Welcome to Cord Cutting This Week, episode number 79, the show where we take a look at some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting from the past week and give you our opinions on them. If you want to learn more about these stories, in the show notes down below I'll put a link to each story. You can read about them for yourself, come up with your own opinions. I'd love to hear from you. If you're new here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, it would really help us. And hopefully we can help you break free from the high cost of cable TV and still watch the shows you want to watch, with daily cord cutting updates, reviews, how-to guides, and even live cord cutting Q&As. So check that out in the show notes down below. Before we get into it, don't forget we still got the giveaway going. This wasn't live when we did last week's recap show, but we are giving away a Fire TV Stick 4K, a $100 Netflix gift card, and a Fire TV Recast DVR. This is a great giveaway to one lucky winner that will hopefully be somebody watching right now. If you want to enter the giveaway, in the show notes down below, I have a link to our site with all the details, legal terms and conditions, how to enter, and more in the links down below. Remember, there's multiple ways to enter. The more you do, the more chances you get, but you don't need to do all of them to enter the giveaway. So let's dive into the news of the last week. AT&T is continuing their layoffs. Now they've been clearing out staff from Time Warner's merger, and now they've announced more layoffs in the True TV staff. Sounds like a lot of the programming and marketing staff has been laid off. And this comes as AT&T is consolidating TNT, TBS, and True TV's management into basically a single team that will oversee all of it. A lot of fear I heard from a lot of readers about these three networks basically losing their identity, and even AT&T talked about the fact that in the past their programming has been limited by basically what kind of channel they were, and they have hinted that they're looking at opening it up. There's been a lot of talk, especially about TBS and True TV struggling because they don't offer the live content a lot of other networks do. A lot of their content is pre-produced, the kind of content that really lends itself well to binge watching later, streaming when you want, or playing on a DVR, but not watching it live. And when it's not live, that advertisers are much less willing to pay premium dollar for the advertising slots in it. And you see this with TNT getting into more sports, them relaunching a wrestling. So wrestling is coming back to TNT and more, which you can see those are live events that people are willing to watch live, which means they're more likely to watch the commercials and are more likely to get more ad dollars for the commercials. I find this a template that I expect many other channels to do in the future. AT&T's move is probably not a bad one. You know, all these cable channels, which are often either pre-produced content, few originals, a lot of repeats, or in the case of some cable channels, are basically nothing but repeats of old programming curated into a lineup. Wouldn't be surprised to see those channels be some of the first ones to go away, as places like AT&T merge their management into single ones, as ad dollars dry up for some of these networks. The MTV2s and the MTV3s and all that kind of stuff in the past are the ones that are most susceptible to failure right now in the world of cord cutting. Why? Because a lot of that content's streaming on things like Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon. Why just sit down and watch some old episode that's a random episode that you may have picked up halfway through and have to sit through commercials, when you can go online and stream whichever particular episode of that show you want, often commercial free or with limited commercials at least. It's a pretty good deal. You can see why many people are moving from live curated repeats to on-demand. I'm going to watch it when I want to watch it on my DVR, on a streaming service, on the network's on-demand content. So let me know, have you found yourself watching fewer of these kind of, we'll call them second-tier channels, the channels that air mostly repeated content out there? Now, TBS and True TV both have original content. TBS, has the Cohen Show now, and they do have American Dad, but still a lot of the content on these networks is repeats. So it's an example, but not a perfect example of what I think is happening in the world of cord cutting. But I wanted to know what you think. What do you think of these little TV channels' chances for success? We have heard like Discovery and Viacom are going to focus on some of their main networks, and Discovery's case has talked about maybe taking some of those smaller ones that are less popular, going direct to consumers with it. And with Viacom, we're not really sure what their end goal is with those networks. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Next story up of the day, and I talked about this during the week, but I really wanted to get into this. NBC's new news service launched this week, which is live from 3 p.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. Eastern, and offers live news from the NBC News staff, and including talent from MSNBC. Now, it is a lot of original content, and then some of it's curated content from NBC and MSNBC news programming, and it does compete head-to-head with the ABC News service that's live and the CBS News service. And it really points down to this idea of free news being where people want it. Of course, you got the Fox News and the CNN and the MSNBCs, which are still doing well on a lot of paid services. But increasingly, cord cutters, I find, are happy bypassing that and just going to free services. We've seen others pop up like Newsnet, which is a free independent 24/7 news network. And we've even seen a growing number of cable networks putting their news free online. CNN coming to Pluto TV. Well, not live. It is a curated list of news plus live breaking news. NBC did say outside that 3 to 11 p.m. Eastern time, if there is major live breaking news, they will also go live. My question to you is, are you happy with the free news? Have you found a free news service that gives you all the news you want? A legal one, not a pirated stream of a cable network, but a legal free news service. We're also seeing this growth in free ad-supported local news with local news, News On, Haystack TV, and even your local cable network putting an app on your local TV network, putting an app on your Roku Fire TV or Apple TV for both live and on-demand access to their news programming. I really like it. I find this move into on-demand live news here is great. They get ad dollars. I get to watch the news on my schedule. So let me know what you think of these news services. Are you still paying for news? Is it still important to you to get Fox News or CNN or MSNBC so you can get those talk shows live as they happen, as opposed to seeing clips of Rachel Maddow or Sean Hannity or all the other hosts in the afternoon? Or would you, or do you say, hey, I really need that, I'm willing to pay for that? Fox News is betting on that with the Fox Nation, where they're saying, hey, we think our viewers are so happy with our news, they'll pay more to get even more access to in-depth documentaries, original content, and our editorial program, as they call it, the talking heads, as I like to call it. So leave me a comment, let me know. If I had to place a bet, I would say the ad-supported is where it's going. I would not be surprised to find out Fox Nation will eventually go to an ad-supported model. Maybe as a tiered model, ad-supported here, that some of that premium content in the paid version there. But I just think that's where news is going. There's so much high-quality news. Why would you go, unless you're a really, really hardcore news fan, why would you go pay for a service just to get live news when CBS, OAN, NBC, ABC, Newsnet, local news through News On, Haystack, and so many others are 100% free? It just seems that's the direction we're going right now, and I'll love to know what you think of this. All right, next story up, Omniverse is shutting down its service. And when I wrote this, it was tomorrow, and now it has happened. We've learned some more. So I talked about this earlier the week in the show. Now I want to talk about it a little bit more. Omniverse has released a statement, basically said, due to new findings from their parent, the company who licensing out there, they're ending their residential service, but they're going to continue to target multi-dwellings, so apartment buildings and the like. And they believe that their license that they have will allow them to target like apartment complexes and more, where in the past they said it may not allow them to do residential. That's a huge paraphrase. I will pull a link to a story with the full breakdown down there. So this has meant the end of all the SkyStream TVs and more out there that have gone on. The case with Ace versus Omniverse has continued. This doesn't change anything. I'll be very interested to see, though, once this is all over, what in the contract that they found out through Hopset, which is the company who originally, I guess, had the contract, from my understanding. Please read the description down below, because this is breaking news minutes before I went live. The parent company who originally made that contract with DirecTV, what about that contract did they discover may not line up with them having resellers for the OmniGo and originally the HD Home Run Premium TV and more out there? I'm very interested in that. But for now, if you were using Omniverse, you're out of luck unless you happen to live in an apartment complex that would partner with Omniverse to offer apartment TV service to the members of the apartments. There are different contracts out there. I'm no TV expert, but from talking to people in the industry, I have learned that the contracts for like a hotel and the contracts for apartments are very different from what they call residential single-family units, where it's just like the services being sold to you and me living in our house somewhere. That there are the ability for apartment complexes to buy a TV service to offer to all their residential customers in there at a reduced rate, or maybe free with rent. That's very popular around a lot of colleges and dorms do that, where they'll pay for it and then they just roll the cost of the TV service into the rent of their apartment or college dorm, for example. So it'd be very interesting, but for now at least, this looks like the end of the residential service for Omniverse. Of course, it's very possible that someday in the future Omniverse will come back to offer residential services like they have in the past. And it will be very interesting to see what happens with the court case out there. So I'd love to know what you think. Were you an Omniverse customer? One person gave us a feedback. They were very happy with Omniverse until some issues happened a few months ago. If you were a current Omniverse customer right now when it canceled, I'd love to hear from you. Were you paying for like SkyStream TV and more? Leave us a comment, let me know. Last story of the week. Many cord cutting services are going to fail, and that's a good thing for cord cutting. So this is an editorial I wrote, and it goes after the idea where we're seeing some cord cutting services fail. And I think there's going to be a lot more in the next year, 2 years, and on. Because there's just so many services. There's at least 100 in some. Some people put it closer to 150. Who knows, we may end up with 200 streaming services targeting cord cutters in the greater United States, North America area. Let's not even talk about the stuff around the world. India, China, Japan, all those services around the world are quite in depth. But the reality is there's probably more services that can be supported by the population. And this is the great thing about cord cutting. The best services rise to the top, the worst services will fall to the bottom, and those are the ones I think will be canceled. Now, there's a few factors that go in there. Of course, poor user interface, poor catalog of content, poor customer service can cause services to fail. So can poor experience. My end user experience, is the service out? Is there constant interruptions? Is there poor communication from the company? When that happens in cord cutting, there's no barrier. In 5 minutes, I can be over on a new service. If I'm upset with a service, I can cancel it, subscribe to a new one, and in 5 minutes on my Roku, I've just transferred services and deleted Netflix or deleted Hulu or Amazon from it. So this fact that we can easily move between services nowadays makes it so much easier for cord cutting out there than it was in the past. So I'm very interested to know what you think. We had to talk about this earlier, but I'd love to know what you think of which services are most likely to fail. And it may be some bigger ones. Like, I think PlayStation Vue is an excellent service, but I've harped on the fact that the name is very bad. I still get a lot of emails. I still talk to people who think you need a PlayStation. And I don't think they do a very good job communicating with people. They do really great things, add really cool content, add more locals, do cool features, but then rarely tell people about them. So, in that case, that's probably severely hurt PlayStation Vue. They're probably big enough that they can survive that, but some of these other services out there, which are really good, but may not communicate very well to the general public what they're doing, are subject to fail. So I'd love to know from you, which services are most likely to fail? And is there one that you think is actually really good? Is there a service you think is excellent, but for whatever reason, you don't think they're doing a good enough job communicating, marketing, whatever? What's going to cause them to fail? Leave me a comment, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. But if you want to read my full editorial about why I think some of these services will fail and why it's good for cord cutting, well, check out in the show notes down below. Well, that's it. I hope you all have a fantastic Saturday or Sunday whenever you may be watching this. Don't forget about the giveaway. And if you watch a lot of our videos, don't forget to ring the notification bell, because YouTube has this way of not telling you when we post a video unless you've rung the notification bell. So I hope you all take care. I will see you on Monday. Take care, everybody.